we'd like to welcome into the booth the Orioles' new Executive Vice President and General Manager, Mike Elias, who is running his first Major League camp, and that's got to be a lot of fun for you.
It is a lot of fun. It's great being in Florida to start the year. I love this state. I love spring training in Florida. And this facility is spectacular. This is my first time really being here the last week or so. I had heard great things about it, but it's might be my favorite in the entire state of Florida. I just love the fact that we're training here and we have this place for a long time.
How challenging, Mike, has it been for you? The organization did an exhaustive search for the new head of baseball ops, and you were hired in November, and then you had to hit the ground running. How challenging was that for you?
Well, it's tough in the sense that, anytime you're dropped into the middle of an organization, you need to learn your way around the organization first and foremost, learn the people, learn the players, the business side of the organization, all of those things. And, yeah, we were right in the middle of the offseason. You're expected as the general manager to start conducting business right away, fielding phone calls and trade ideas and all kinds of things from different teams. But on top of that, we have a lot of hiring to do, starting with the Major League staff. But I feel like we're in a really good place right now to start the season, and I feel great about where we're at.
Well, this camp, if you talk to the players, they are raving about how it's been run. And Brandon Hyde told us everything is being done. Everybody's collaborating, and that's a healthy thing.
It's been terrific. Brandon and his staff, the guys that he's brought in, and also the staff members that have been in this organization for a while, they're meshing really well. The players have a very clear understanding of what they're doing every day. I feel like the vibe has been very loose and fun. They understand there's a lot of competition, but also a lot of opportunity here. So I can't say enough what a great job he's done.
This is popped up shallow left. The wind may take it out, and it will. So a long foul ball.
You were most recently with the Astros, and I'm intrigued with all the analytics that go on. I know with the Astros, and I know Alex Bregman a little bit. Of course, he played down at LSU to talk to him a little bit about that kind of stuff. But it intrigues me, and I saw some stuff in the bullpens, the guys throwing bullpens. I saw some different monitors and things, how they're looking at that. Is that something, and it appears to be something big that you guys are going to start looking into to maybe benefit some players?
Yeah, it's changed the sport. I mean, this technology has come on big in the last 5 years. So much has been made available. A lot of it came from the golf world, but then also just the quality of camera and video that we now have on our hands. And we have analysts, Sig Mejdal being one of them, who have derived some incredible insights from the data provided by these machines, and we'd be foolish not to use it.
How does it help the players? I mean, I hear Ben talking all the time about spin rate, and to me it just looks like a good fastball.
Well, we have a very precise idea of what a pitch is actually doing while it's in flight now, and it enables you to coach very, very precisely some changes in the pitch. And when you pair it with the use of video, you really get a very clear idea of what you're doing when you suggest some alterations to maybe a guy's grip or where to throw the next pitch. There's just a lot of different combinations of things that's coming out. It's really changing the business.
That's what I noticed. I mean, from day one years ago, we were all taught the best pitch in baseball is a fastball down in the knees. That's where we try to throw. But some guys with these high spin rate fastballs are able to pitch up in the zone. I think that's where the information comes in, because I might be a guy with a high spin rate fastball and never knew it. And for me, I can have more success at the top of the strike zone than maybe I would at the bottom of the strike zone. I think that's the huge. And you mentioned the way the ball comes out of the hand, the grip of certain pitches can all be analyzed with spin rate and how it actually breaks and moves. And that's when the information can really be beneficial as a pitcher.
Yeah, it's great for the pitchers, especially the ones that are interested in it. They get a real good idea of their strengths and also their weaknesses, and they can steer towards using their strengths. And now everyone is doing it. And if you're not, it's kind of like, bringing a knife to a gunfight.
You've gotten way behind.
Lamont Wade from Baltimore, University of Maryland product, is about to see an 11th pitch in this at-bat. And he's leading off here in the second, visiting with Mike Elias, our first spring telecast on MASN. And he lost him, so a real good at-bat there for Lamont Wade out of Maryland. But the camp, there's a lot of camaraderie. Talking to some of the players yesterday, they were saying how they love the approach. The catchers, for instance, are here 7 a.m. doing their drills. I'm not sure they like the early wake-up calls, but it's all about getting the job done and getting off the field.
Yeah, it's good. We like to be efficient with our work. These guys, they're athletes, and they train a lot, and they expend a lot of energy, and we want them to use it as best as possible, not wear their bodies down early in camp. So we try to put together an efficient schedule, and the catchers, as you know, the catchers bear the brunt of any spring training. So them in particular we want to look out for.
Well, you got to like what you saw to Chance Cisco with that first swing, huh?
Yeah, it's great. He's an exciting guy to have in the system. I mean, I'm familiar with him going back to his days in high school. He can put the bat on the ball. He's got some pop, as you just saw, and we feel good about his catching and think that's moving in the right direction as well. So good young catcher.
Well, Mike, you are sitting next to the only #1 overall pick in Orioles franchise history in Ben McDonald. That was back in 1989. This year you will have the second #1 overall pick, and I'm just curious, how many players will you consider for that very precious spot? Because I know you've said it in the past publicly, we can't get this one wrong.
Yeah, and I don't think we will. But normally it's like 6 or 7. I have a feeling this year it's going to be more like 5 players that we'll very seriously consider, and then you narrow it down really until like 2 minutes before the pick, and you make your decision. So, we'll keep an open mind. We'll gather all the information and make a pick. But I feel really good about the choices that are out there this year, and that's not always the case. So I feel good about that. That's nice.
Because you have a scouting background, that was your first job after coming out of Yale. Will you go out and look at these 5 players that you're obviously not going to identify, but just another set of eyes because of your background?
I definitely will. I don't think that's unusual for any general manager these days with a high pick, but particularly with my background and experience with high picks, both good and bad, I want to be very personally involved in that, and I will be. But I feel like having done this before, I know the process. I know the right and wrong way to go about the process, and we had a lot of experience with these picks during our early years in Houston, and overall it was a great outcome, although it wasn't perfect, but I think we did really well.
Do you feel like that's what turned the Astros? Because everybody forgets the Astros lost 100 games back-to-back seasons. All of a sudden, with the drafts and picking well and getting a few guys in there that really clicked, it turned it around very quickly.
Well, this day and age, to get an offensive and defensive threat at shortstop like Carlos Correa, like Alex Bregman, you really have to get it out of a high draft pick, maybe a big international signing.
Zach Granite pops it up. The wind has a hold of it, but Cedric Mullins comes in and calls it and makes the catch. So Wade back to first, and Ramirez having a little trouble here. They keep fouling pitches off on him. But the draft is certainly the way where you can infuse talent. But the other thing is, we can't forget 15 players were acquired in all that flurry of activity last July. And Yusniel Diaz, for instance, who's in the game today, he was one of the Dodgers' top prospects, and now he's yours.
Yeah, he looks awesome. I think that's going to turn out to be a really good trade for this organization. He's got big power. He's got a fun attitude. He's a good athlete. I think he can play a little center field, and very excited to have a talent like that kind of sitting there in the system when I walk in the door.
Now, since you have this #1 pick, and we usually talk to scouting directors as it gets close to the draft, but it's always a curiosity what the focus is. For instance, is there somewhere in the system you feel like you're thin? Should you go after that player? Or starting pitching is always something that everybody looks at? Or is it simply, we just think this guy's the best player and we're going to go after him?
Yeah, they say it all the time, but for fans that are more familiar with the football draft, where they kind of...
This ball's trouble on the run is Joey Rickard, and he can't get to it, so it falls in for a base hit. Heading to third will be Lamont Wade, and not in time. Heading to second, there's the throw from Nunez, and safe at second base. So that'll be a single, and he goes to second on the throw. And with one down, second and third for Minnesota.
Yeah, just a ball just kind of blooped down the line. Look, Joey Rickard does everything he can to get to it. The right fielder for the Orioles. A pretty good read right here by Wade out there. And right here, he takes the extra base and moves up. And then watch Gordon. Gordon sees the throw, and he advances and takes an extra 92. So all of a sudden, second and third for the Twins and just one out.
Yeah, Nick Gordon has some good speed. So it is second and third. Those will play the infield back except for Nunez. And here is Tomas Talis, the catcher. There's a bouncer to second, and Rum will score, but the O's will take the out as Peterson plays it to first. So how exciting is it for you? You've been down here several weeks already, the coaching staff and Brandon Hyde as well, to finally play a game and see players with different uniforms.
Yeah, it's great. As he says, you're ready to see another jersey when you get about this time of spring training. So it's fun. This is my first time being part of the west coast of Florida. I was with the Cardinals and Astros, who are over in Palm Beach, and this is great because we've got a good situation being right in the middle of all these teams. That's a fun group of teams. You got the Twins, the Red Sox, the Yankees, and there's a lot over here. So I'm looking forward to the whole schedule.
Ben and I were talking as we opened our telecast today of the 63 players in camp, and I think it's fair to say that of those 63, you're going to be open-minded on all of them if they show they belong.
Sure. You know, not only are there jobs open on the Major League roster, but both Brandon and I and the new coaches, we kind of want to see these guys as early as possible. We haven't seen a lot of these players. So even if it's a younger player that's, realistically going to start the year in the minor leagues, just to be able to see him up here with the big boys for 2 weeks is very helpful for us in terms of getting to know everybody.
Well, it's certainly an exciting time in the Orioles organization. Mike, we appreciate the visit. Great to see you, and thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.